Good evening and welcome to another stream. What is up, Matt? How's your Friday evening going? I'm battling a little bit of a cough right now, so I'll be trying to mute my mic as much as possible when that happens. I definitely don't want to cough in anyone's ear. So, as you've probably read in the description, tonight is about the anniversary of the sinking of the RMS Lusitania. So we're going to check out this little game again that we bought and talk a little bit more about the sinking, similar to what we did last time. However, I'm going to do things slightly different. The last time we played the game, I did the play free camera mode. As you can see, that is an option, so we can just go all around the ship and explore it as it's going down. And this is a real-time sinking of the ship. It took only 18 minutes for the Lusitania to sink. This time, though, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to play the main game, and I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to do it to where we escape in a lifeboat and observe the sinking from the perspective of one of the survivors in the lifeboat. After that, we're going to restart and we're going to stay on the ship throughout the entire sinking process. And after that, stay tuned for a quick little surprise about another upcoming game concerning the Lusitania. So, without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and hop right into it. And we're going to start up with this main game. So they give you a few minutes before the torpedo hits. And if you want to see the entirety of the ship, you can go back and watch the past stream where I walk around the decks and check out the ship. Unfortunately, they do not give you like a free roam mode on this ship, or in this game, I should say. Uh, would be nice, but they don't. But we will get a warning before the torpedo hits. So we're going to probably go up to over there, back that way on the starboard side bridge wing, and we're going to watch the torpedo come in. As I recall, it comes in extremely fast in this game, more like a missile than it does a torpedo. And one thing I never understood why they did this was you see the funnels are painted in black. They're all black. In peacetime, her funnels were the actual original Cunard color. They called it a red color, but it was actually more of an orange type color. Now, I never understood why, if they were going to change the paint scheme of the ship during wartime, why did they just paint the funnels and nothing else? See, this would have, looks like this would have been the wireless room right up here. This is probably a skylight for the wireless room because you can see the cables for the Marconi wires coming down in here. All right, torpedo is coming on the right-hand side. Let's get up over to the bridge, and we're going to observe the torpedo coming in. Okay, well, I messed that up. Did not get to observe the torpedo. So let's do this. Anytime you jump off the ship, it gives you this message. You fell and you didn't survive the impact, and it restarts the game after 10 seconds. So anyway, that'll give us a little more time to explore just a little bit more of the ship. And they really did not do a bad job on their model. I mean, this is kind of PS2 looking graphics to me, but for what it is, it's not that bad. I'd like to go walk the promenade deck, but I don't think we're going to have enough time for that. Now, as I pointed out in the last time we played this game, the Lusitania was actually just 11 miles from shore, so you would see land over here. I don't know why they didn't include that in the game. That looks like a compass platform. Kind of like the ones that were on the Olympic class ships. All right, torpedo is coming. Let's get down to the bridge wing. And that sucker's going to come flying in. As soon as it hits, I'm going to set a timer so I can keep track of certain things that are going on after the collision. Here it comes. Right there. All right, starting a timer. Now there's going to be another massive explosion, and actually you can already see the ship listing. It did not take long. Trying to get over to the bow. I mean, wow, it's extremely obvious already. There's the other explosion. You do not see that in this game. I guess that might have been just too much for them to add. Now, one thing else that is not accurate on this game, I believe it was not. All right, see, they're launching lifeboats already. Lifeboats did not launch this fast. We know this to be true. Now, one thing they do have right is that 6 lifeboats out of the 48 were successfully launched. But what they're also not showing us here is, I believe it was lifeboat number 5, which was one of these, was completely blown off the davits and fell into the water. What ship shot the torp? So the submarine that delivered the torpedo was U-20. It's a German U-boat. The commander was Walter Schweiger. Let's check our time and see what's going on. All right, so we're 2 minutes after the collision, or not the collision, I'm thinking Titanic here. And 2 minutes after the explosion, Captain Turner has ordered the ship's wheel to steer hard to starboard towards the Irish coast, but it doesn't respond. Then he signals for the engines to be in reverse, but nothing can be done because the steam pressure absolutely collapsed. So he had no control over the direction of the ship, and he could not stop the momentum of the ship. Like, he could not kill the engines. SOS does go out at this time. Yeah, the only bad thing about Schweiger is, I mean, I don't know if it's bad or not, considering his ultimate fate, but he was never tried for war crimes because after this, he was killed in action on a different U-boat, U-88. before the end of the war. And you can't jump in the water or anything because it'll restart the game. But again, they got this correct. 6 lifeboats were launched or successfully launched out of the 48. However, they did not launch this quickly and not all at the same time. Now, what's happening over there on the other side of the ship? The list is so severe already that when they're trying to launch the lifeboats on the other side of the ship, uh, the lifeboats are rubbing against the hull and they're rubbing it against the rivets in the hull. They're capsizing and breaking apart. So just about every single one of them cannot be launched over there. Oh, look at that! Our lifeboat's going underwater here. Let's check our time and see where we're at. All right, so we're over 4 minutes in, and at the 4 minute mark, the ship lost complete power to all the electrical power in the ship. No, Matt, you cannot paddle the boat. I can move around on the boat, but I cannot move the boat. Uh, it's a very bare bones little game here. So all we can do is just sit here and watch the ship sink. But yeah, the ship lost complete electrical power 4 minutes after the impact from the torp. So they were still able to transmit wireless signal because I believe there was a battery. But anything and everything relating to electrical power on the ship was gone. So what that meant for a lot of people was if you were in the ship in a hallway in a room, you were in complete darkness. You could not see anything. And this ship is rapidly flooding. Now, one thing they did different on the Lusitania than they did on the Titanic was all of the ship's watertight compartments were closed throughout the whole voyage, unlike the Titanic. They did this because it was, World War I was going on. They were sailing into a war zone. And they knew that German subs were operating in the area. The problem was, though, when the electrical power failed, they could not reopen the watertight compartments. So every worker in the bowels of the ship, all the crew, they're trapped down there. They cannot get out. They're all going to drown. The same can be said for people stuck in rooms in the bottom of the ship, in the hallways. If you were in an elevator, you were trapped. You could not get out. So it's a pretty terrifying situation. Now, the ship has at least a 15-degree list at this point. I don't know the exact list, but I know it had a 15-degree list in less than 10 minutes. Yeah, you can see she is listing really hard now. And the problem you have with launching lifeboats over here on this side of the ship is because the list is so hard, the lifeboats are swinging out so far away from the ship that people are just falling into the water, falling overboard because the gap between the lifeboat and the ship is so wide, they can't step into the lifeboats. I mean, so this whole situation is just pure chaos. I did put out a short today about one lesson learned from the Lusitania about the listing in the lifeboats. William Francis Gibbs, who was the designer of the SS United States, learned a lesson from this event from the Lusitania. He put enough lifeboats on his ship for double the capacity of passengers and crew that the United States could carry. And he designed the ship in a way to where if it ever developed a hard list like this, you would still have enough lifeboat capacity on either side of the ship for everyone on board. Now, if he somehow managed to, now the SS United States is like over 40 years newer than what the Lusitania was. I don't know what technology would have been implemented into the Big U uh, to keep the lifeboats from swinging out so far, or if there was any technology like that, but I would imagine that there was. So you would not have this situation where the lifeboats are swinging out too far away from the ship. I'd have to do some research into that to see exactly uh, what was done to make even the lifeboats safer than what you would have had on the Lusitania. And I should also point out that today's date of this stream is Friday, May 7th. The actual anniversary of the sinking is 2 days from now, Sunday, May 7th. But I am not available to stream that day, so I just wanted to stream something tonight uh, for the event. Notice how our lifeboat keeps going underwater. All right, looks like the ship is slowing down. It's not going to get too much further from us. You can see the propeller coming out of the water there, over there on the port side. All right, so we are 11 and a half minutes into the sinking, so the ship's roughly got about 6, 7 minutes or so left to live. Now, unfortunately, the ship's crew was just in a situation, literally nothing they could do to get everyone off the ship. Yeah, at this point, you've got people just jumping overboard with life jackets on, hoping for the best. You did have people who die from hypothermia in this, but not as many as in the case with the Titanic, because the water was about 52 degrees uh, where the Lusitania went down, as opposed to the below freezing where the Titanic went down. Now, one thing I'm not sure about, and I may have to fact check this, but um, if the same life vests were used on the Lusitania that were used on the Titanic, you definitely did not want to jump overboard with those life vests on. The reason for that is when people were jumping off of the Titanic with those life vests on, you see, those things were like cork on the insides of the jacket. It was all padded in cork. When people, if you would hit the water feet first, vertical, the cork would, go just shoot straight up, and it actually would break your neck. So you were essentially dead when you hit the water. And I believe that there were, when one of the ships was retrieving bodies from the wreck of the Titanic site, they did find evidence of people with broken necks in the water. All right, she's going pretty fast now. The bridge is going under. Let's see, how far are we in? We're 15, we're just over 15 minutes, so she's got about 2 minutes left, and she's going to start taking her final plunge now. Now, the final plunge, as I understand, is not accurate either in this game, because the way I understand it was the ship leveled out before it went fully under, and it was said the last things you could see were the funnels and the two masts. So yeah, I guess we will be high up there on the stern when we play the when we restart this and we go from the perspective of riding the ship all the way down. We keep getting our lifeboat keeps going fully underwater. All right, and she is just about gone. Yep, we're 17 minutes and 40 seconds in. Yep. I just stopped my stopwatch at 18 minutes, and she's gone. So yeah, they pretty much nailed the time, the amount of time of the sinking on the nail of the head on this game. And I can see a couple of the other lifeboats over there. One, two. Okay, so yeah, I can see all six boats. I mean, imagine that, six boats out of 48 were all that was able to be launched. Okay, so that is the perspective of the sinking from the lifeboat. We're going to go back to the main menu here. All right, so again, this time, we're going to do the sinking again, but we are going to ride the ship all the way down. All right, so here we go again. Let's see if we can get a higher view this time of when the torpedo hits. I believe you can climb up to the top of the funnels on this game. Ah, yes, you can. So we've got our, wow, here we go. So we are on top of the first funnel. Now that would have been a view. Jeez. Imagine if the crow's nest was here instead of down there on the forward mast. The one thing I never understood about this whole situation now, um, the ship slowed down before the attack because of a heavy fog bank, but she came out of a fog bank before the attack. This ship had a speed of 24, 25 knots, and the captain never put her back at that high of a speed. I I don't understand why, but I mean, hey, I'm not the captain of a ship. I never was, so I guess who am I to question it? But you gotta wonder. You can't help but wonder. All right, torpedo's gonna be coming. It's gonna hit over here on the starboard side. You want to watch on the horizon for the bubbles. Here it comes. Okay. And look at that. She is already leaning. Let's get down. There's the second explosion. Yep, there go the lifeboats. Bye bye, lifeboats. Speaking of that, the horn blasting like that, that was another thing that was concerned, that worried the passengers before the attack, was when they were in the fog bank, they were constantly sounding the ship's foghorns, and which really made the passengers uncomfortable because they knew they were traveling in waters that were being patrolled by U-boats. So it was like basically giving their position away. But for whatever reason, they decided to keep doing it. And she was also supposed to be maneuvering in a zigzag pattern. At least that's what the British Admiralty said, and they accused the captain of not doing that. And he claims that the reason he did not do that was because he thought he only had to do that if they actually spotted a submarine. There's actually a I call it a made for TV movie because it looks too nice to be a fan film, but it's also not good enough to be a major motion picture that I saw on YouTube about the sinking of the ship. And it's maybe an hour or an hour, 20 minutes at the most. And after the sinking, this ship portrays the British Admiralty as intentionally putting the Lusitania in harm's way in order to draw the United States into World War One, and the captain is the scapegoat. They try to pin all of the blame on him, and yet you could question a lot of his actions, but I guess we'll never know if that was truly, how it went. But I'm not a as far as whether or not the captain was completely in the wrong. I mean, Matt, yes, it is a whole lot better than that garbage documentary that you watched about the Titanic. That was absolute trash. I am not a believer in conspiracy theories. I've not yet seen one where I've found credibility, and not just concerning ships, but in anything. I do not believe that the British government intentionally put the Lusitania in harm's way to draw the United States into the war. I don't know for sure if they intentionally tried to make the captain a scapegoat and place all the blame for what happened on him either. I have not read any survivor testimony or read any reports of inquiries into the sinking. So that may be something I have to do at some point because I am trying to educate myself more on the Lusitania. Um, Obviously, we know so much more about the Titanic you know, for better or worse, she is the most famous ship in history, or one of them. And the Lusitania often gets overshadowed by the Titanic tragedy. And the truth of the matter is, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. The Titanic disaster was a horrible, horrible accident, but the people on the Lusitania were murdered. And of course, the German government defended their actions, of course, saying that they had the right to sink the Lusitania because she was an armed auxiliary cruiser. And while it's true that officially the Lusitania was an auxiliary cruiser, she was not armed. Oh, crap. I fell off. That's okay. It'll just extend the stream by, you know, 5, 10 minutes. It's not a big deal. Yeah, the notorious iceberg. What a pile of garbage. Yeah, the Titanic and the Olympic were not switched, no matter how bad some people might want to believe it. It's utterly and completely ridiculous. It's not possible. I would just like to ask the people if the ships were intentionally switched. With the people that did that, are they going to be able to give us Elvis back, and not like a 90-year-old Elvis? I mean, like Elvis back in his prime, back in the 50s, because they must have him frozen somewhere too. Because that's about how realistic the chances are that the Titanic and the Olympic were switched. But I'm not going to get on a tangent about that. Today is about the Lusitania. I like the fact that you could go in the bridge too. Now, I don't know if this is how it was on the Lusitania, but it was on the Titanic. This is where you would actually steer the ship, right here, not up here. The Titanic had wheels up here as well, but they were only for docking. In this further room back is where you would actually steer the ship. All right, torpedoes coming. Here it comes. Boom. Okay. Don't fall off the ship this time. Now, I'm pretty sure what's going to happen because this is a little cheap indie game. When we take the final plunge on the ship and we go in the water, I think the game is just going to restart again. All right, there's a secondary explosion. But at that point, we will be done, so it won't matter. Yeah, so this is where we will be when the final plunge happens. Yeah, even from this vantage point, that is it's still a pretty high jump, one that you would probably not want to make, especially when the ship is still moving. Yeah, if you were on one of these ships and it was sinking and still moving, you did not want to get off. Not right away, anyway, because as we learned from the Britannic disaster, they lowered lifeboats before the captain gave the order over here on the port side. Lifeboat went into the water, the ship's still moving, and the lifeboat went straight into the propeller. Now, if you've been following the channel for a bit, you know that I've been building a lot of model ships. I've built two different Titanic models. I've built the Queen Mary. I've built the SS United States. You will see videos for all of these ships. And actually, part two of me building the Queen Mary came out today. Part three, which I think is going to be the final edition, will come out next week. And then you'll see the building of the other models. I mentioned that because I have found models of the Lusitania on eBay. However, they're over $300 because I guess they're larger models, and I guess they're rare models as well. So as much as I would like to have one and put it together, yeah, I don't know if I can justify spending over $300 on a model ship. And now would be a good time for the channel to be monetized so I could spend YouTube money on the ship and make videos of making said ship, but maybe someday. Actually, at the time I am of this stream, we have 560 subscribers. So if you're watching the replay of this and you like what you see, give the video a like. More importantly, subscribe to the channel. It helps out a whole lot more than you can imagine. All right, let's find some steps or a ladder so we can get back to the upper decks. Because this promenade deck's going to get submerged pretty soon. And I don't want to risk going underwater or anything because I don't want to have to restart the game again. Like I said, we're gonna ride this thing all the way to the end. And you see, we're walking around pretty easily in this game, but I would imagine it's nowhere near this easy to walk around decks on a ship that's listing this hard. I imagine you're trying very hard to maintain your balance. And see, lifeboats were still attempting to be launched, both on the port and starboard side. You're not seeing that in this version of the sinking. But again, I attribute that to it just being a little indie game. And I keep saying that, and I don't mean it as an insult. Um, it is, it's not bad for a little indie game. It's just, I guess, they couldn't get things as accurate as they wanted to. And I actually, when I went to the Titanic Museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, they have a little simulation where you're standing on the decks at different times of the sinking. There's just a small little piece of deck, and they have one where I think it's like a 4-degree list, a 10-degree list, and the final one is like I think a 45-degree list. And I had to climb. I had to use the railings to climb up the deck on that last list. So you would pretty much be doing the same here. You would have to find stuff to pull yourself up. You could not just walk around freely on the deck like this. So I know that from trying out the simulation of that at the Titanic Museum. And that one was that final simulation or whatever one you want to call it. I think was at they said it was that was the list at 2:10, and so that would have been about 10 minutes before the ship went down for good and right before the breakup happened. And so the lifeboats are way behind us now. Now, again, the ship is 10 miles from shore, so you should see shore over there in the distance. And also, if you watch the channel, you see a short that I did yesterday, which is Heroes of the Lusitania. And that is about a little fishing boat called the Wanderer, which at this point is observing the sinking, and they can't do anything but sit there and watch, unfortunately. But after the ship takes its final plunge, they sail into this area, pick up 160 men, women, and children, and tow two lifeboats towards the shore. When they get about 2 miles from the shore, they're greeted by a tug that I believe was controlled by the British Admiralty, and that tug was called the Flying Fish. The Flying Fish picked up the survivors from the Wanderer and brought them all to shore, while the Wanderer turned around, came back here to try and find more survivors, but unfortunately they did not. But think about that. They rescued 160 men, women, and children. Those people would not be alive if not for a tiny little fishing boat with a crew of 7. I almost don't. I want to get on the forecastle deck, but I don't want to at the same time because I don't know if I can get back up. This will be good enough. I want to try and stay as high up as possible. Because as you've seen, if we touch that water, we it's going to restart the game. Yeah, it's a pretty amazing story, isn't it, Matt? We were able to climb the funnel earlier. I don't know if we still can. Let's see. Hmm. Maybe from here. Yeah. Where there's no ladder, we can climb the funnel. I do not want to go on the other side and risk falling into the water. It's amazing how hard she is listing. If I had to guess, we're probably, I didn't set a watch this time or a timer, but if I had to guess, we're probably about 10 minutes in right now. And the ship only lasts for a total of 18 minutes. All right, let's get down from here. Okay, we cannot jump from there. I hope you can't get stuck in certain areas too, because that'll drag us down with the ship and it'll restart the game again. Trying to do as much as possible to avoid that. Let's go see if we can still walk the promenade deck. Wow. Yikes. See, I don't see. I don't. We can't even get up on the bridge anymore unless we do this. It kind of looks like the forecastle is starting to dip forward, which means it's going to start getting submerged pretty soon. Let's. I'm not sure what's going on right there. Oh, wait, here we go. The forecastle's going under. We're gonna have to start making our way aft very, very soon. Look how fast she's going. All right, starboard side bridge wing is under. Okay, we gotta go. We gotta get aft. Oh yeah, it's going fast. Oh wow, we might be trapped right here. Nope. I keep getting stuck on things. Trying to get as far aft as possible. All right, here we go. Look at that, with the water's coming up the promenade deck. This is it. It doesn't look like when you're on the lifeboat or watching in the free camera mode that it's actually going down that fast until you're actually on it. But again, I don't believe this part is 100% accurate because I've always read that the ship leveled out before she went down completely, and the last things you could see was the funnels and the masts because unlike the Titanic, the Lusitania's funnels did not break off. All right, so as soon as we hit the water, I imagine the game is going to restart. But it's okay because we knew this was coming. Here we go. We're going under. This is it. Okay. It didn't respawn. Yep, there it goes. All right, let's see if we can get to the main menu. All right, so there you have it. That is the sinking of the Lusitania, as shown by this particular game. But we're not quite done yet. So I mentioned at the beginning of the stream that there may be a potential new game that portrays the sinking of the Lusitania. So I'm going to give a little information about that before we go. And what it is it's called Lusitania, the Greyhound's Wake. And the reason for that name is because the Lusitania had the nickname the Greyhound of the Atlantic. And that was because of her incredible speed. So the lead guy behind the game, his name is Tom Linsky. And if you're in the Titanic community, you know that name very well. He was once the creative head over at Titanic Honor and Glory, which we streamed their demos several times here on the channel. He stepped away from that project a few years ago to go out and do his own thing, but he was also behind Britannic Patroness of the Mediterranean, another game that we've streamed here on the channel. You'll see his name all over the credits in that one. And basically, his Lusitania game is going to be very much similar to Britannic Patroness of the Mediterranean. It's going to be, you will be able to tour most of the ship inside and out. It will be a much more correct recreation of the ship. He has access to historians from the Lusitania and the Titanic. He's a, you could pretty much say he's a historian himself. And what I want to do before we go is show a couple of pictures from his game. It is beyond describable how amazing it's going to look. There will be a real time syncing of the ship in his game as well. And one thing they talk about is it's not really a game, it's as it is more of a digital museum. And I believe that is a very accurate interpretation of Patroness of the Mediterranean, Titanic Honor and Glory, and what his game's going to be. So I'm going to show you a few quick images of his game or the upcoming game. Yep, so there you can have it. As you can see, if this game comes to fruition, it is going to be an absolutely stunning representation of the Lusitania. I had not realized how beautiful the interiors of that ship was until I saw some of these images. And he debuted this stuff, or he gave his most recent update on the game, I should say, a few weeks ago when he did his live stream of the anniversary of the Titanic sinking, which I highly recommend because he had several experts on his live stream, including Ken Marshall. For those of you who may not know, he is widely regarded in the Titanic community. He's been a painter. He's been painting the ship for over 40 years. He was painting the ship before the wreck was even discovered. He's been down to the wreck a few times. I believe he had some of the writers of On a Sea of Glass, which is widely regarded as the best book on the Titanic ever. So, if you're at all interested, go check out his replay of that stream. The images you saw were on their website, historical effects. Images are copyright to them. So yeah, I think that's pretty much going to wrap us up for here for tonight's live stream. I hope everyone enjoyed it. If you're watching the replay, I hope you like what you saw and give the channel a subscribe. It it helps in more ways than you could possibly imagine. Uh, and that'll be it. And of course, stay tuned to the channel for further updates as to when I will be going live again. I am attempting at some point in the future to do more live streams. I just don't have the setup that I want quite yet in order to do that. But it is something I've been looking into. It is something that's in the works, and I am going to eventually have it set up at some point and probably stream like once a week on Fridays. That's really what I would like to do. Okay, having said all that, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you all have a good evening and a good weekend. And until the next time, of course, you know the drill. Drive safely.